And that was your Whatonomics lesson for the day. If you loved that, go catch Freightonomics. That comes out Thursdays at noon, and it is a full hour spent just getting smarter with Zach Strickland and Anthony Smith.
Yeah, a lot of skepticism in that show.
Of
Be
course.
wary if Anthony Smith is going to be involved. There will be some skepticism. But up next, we have Mr. Trent Broberg. He is the CEO of Acertus. Trent, thanks for joining the show and welcome.
Thanks for having us, guys.
I am pronouncing that correct. Am I Acertus?
Acertus, yep.
There
Absolutely.
Got it.
That was a
Awesome.
rebrand from just 2 years back.
Okay, well, cool. That's good news. Can you tell us just a little bit about Acertus? What do you guys services, and what is your main customers?
Yeah, like I said, thanks for having us on board here. We're an automotive logistics company. We provide auto logistics, full service suite of auto logistics from car haul, as you would know it from a freight perspective, all the way to a home delivery pickup, vehicle storage, prep, light reconditioning, title and registration services, and compliance.
So obviously the automotive logistics sector is incredibly hot right now. You've got places like used car lots who literally only survived the pandemic by selling off their fleets. You've got people trying to buy used cars going for exorbitant amounts of what they're worth. Tell us a little bit about how you guys have grown or performed in the last year and what COVID had to do with your guys' impact.
Yeah, since I'm new, I've been on board for about 2.5 months. I'm obviously a professional here in the auto logistics space. I come from a freight background, and it's very analogous here. What we see here is, as we were just talking about in the Freightonomics piece, is a supply and demand challenge. So you've got on one side a challenge with supply chain disruptions, whether it be chip shortages and so forth, all the way through to the end consumers purchasing behaviors where everybody wants a new car, interest rates are low, so you've got this perfect storm happening in the auto logistics space. With Acertus, we've actually seen the highest growth rates in the history of the company. Been around since 2010. Acquired several different companies that have been around since the 80s, and our growth rate, especially on the remarketing or what people would call the used car side, is through the roof. So it's been fantastic. The OEM side has slowed down a little bit. As you drive past all your car lots, you can kind of see that everybody's repositioned all their cars to the front on the freeway, rather than their back lots are typically empty right now because their supply is pretty short.
Brent, that was something I was going to ask you. I think you kind of touched on it there. Was just kind of what was your mix of customers between OEMs, between used cars, between rental companies, and how has that changed throughout COVID? Have you seen just OEMs kind of fall back as they cut down production? And you've seen as people have looked for used cars kind of take up more of your portfolio? What does that look like?
Yeah, great question. We typically have been probably around 60/40 OEM to remarketing. The majority of our business is on the car haul sector, probably about 50% of our business. The rest of it is drive away and title and registration compliance. So that's largely not been affected too much. On the auto logistics side, obviously for the FreightWaves listeners out there, it's been a big difference on our the shift between OEM and remarketing or used cars. That's really flipped. So where previously we might have been 60/40, we're the other way. The big change in the behavior of the industry has been on the spot buy business. Most of what we see coming from the OEMs is our contract business, because they're not seeing a lot of surges in business, as you can imagine, because there aren't a lot of cars coming off the lot. They're sitting in the Kentucky Motor Speedway and other places that you've seen photos of.
Hey Trent, help me understand just the automotive logistics market better, because I'm pretty green to it. When you guys are
Yeah.
working for OEMs and you're hauling cars from a manufacturing plant to dealership, in those cases, who pays you guys? Is it the dealership that's paying for the logistics costs, or is it the OEM?
Yeah, when you look at our market segment, it's a little bit of both. So we are moving cars from OEMs to dealerships. We're moving from auctions to dealerships, dealerships back to auctions, and everywhere in between. So there's a lot of cars. What's interesting in current times is you mentioned it earlier on the used cars. You've got buyers in used car behavior that you've never had before. So, for example, on the rental car business, rental cars are having to go to the used car market to fill some of the void of the OEMs coming off the lot. So they can, if any of you have tried to get a rental car recently, It's a little bit price sensitive at this point in time because there's not that many cars out there. The ones that you are getting are probably higher mileage vehicles. So um, from a revenue perspective, a lot of it is on the OEM side, direct as we move, cars from plants. But then we have huge, accounts with large dealership groups that you would know, Sonic and many others that are in your territory down there in Chattanooga that we're moving cars for, and then obviously all the auction houses and everywhere in between.
So we talk a lot here on FreightWaves about cross-border freight and the cross-border expansion, specifically when it comes to auto manufacturing. We brought you guys a story last week about GM investing more money into their facility to make 2 more fully electric cars down in Mexico by the end of 2022. Talk to us a little bit about if you guys have any involvement, any hand in that cross-border movement of freight, maybe whether that be cars coming from those manufacturers in Mexico into the United States, and if that expansion is going to have any effect on your business.
Yeah, it's been actually great. Found a really nice niche in EV vehicles. Pretty much all the EV manufacturers out there we're doing business with, and we're doing a healthy piece of business. What that's come is, and we typically only deal with border to door service. So we're domestic in the US and Canada. We don't stretch down into Mexico at this point in time. But what's interesting with the EV, we've made a few acquisitions, which is we've got 55 facilities across the US where we store and prep vehicles. With the digital dealerships, Vroom and Carvana, and now this EV pressure of the EV, the brands that today coming out, and many more coming out this year and next year. There's a requirement for a white glove home delivery service that we provide. This is actually stitched together a couple of years ago, and what COVID has provided is this really nice catalyst for that business, which is our fastest growing piece of business to deliver. We can take a car with our title and registration services, white glove deliver it to your house, your place of work, with plates on it, which is really unique. We're the only pure play that can do that.
Yeah, that is a very, it's a great service and has a great appeal. Trent, how do you guys cover that nationwide, by the way? And are you guys doing that contracting out to basically gig economy couriers almost that have the necessary equipment to be able to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously on the car haul, if it's a long length of haul, much like on the freight side. So I use this interesting analogy that we're just like a partial flatbed shipment. It's a high touch shipment, typically high value shipment. Now that's not really a thing. I mean, there is partial flatbed shipments out there, but it's very analogous to that market segment, especially with supply and demand trends. So we do that, and then you're right on the drive away, the gig economy. We've got drivers within our network that will actually take the car from the car haul delivery service to our facility, prep it, clean it, give it the white glove service, and then deliver it to your home, your place of work. So they're actually driving that vehicle. Sometimes if we can get a car haul in there, a wedge trailer or a hot shot, we'll do that. But the really unique service is sometimes where our drivers are swapping out their polo shirts for our customers before they deliver to the house.
And so, Trent, when it comes to consumer buying behavior, of course, I mean, I bought a car not too long ago, like a year and a half ago, right? And car buying is, Carvana says car buying as it should be, whatever their brand is.
Right.
Car buying sucks. Going to a dealership, having to haggle, it's just like not a good time, which we've seen the rise of that at home, the online dealership. Do you think that consumer buying trends are going to continue to stay on that way as they kind of evolve into understanding how easy it is to buy a car online? And then will that lead to more of an expansion into your guys' sector as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, COVID has been a catalyst for that, right? It's a friction-filled experience to go to a dealership sometimes. Some dealerships have it figured out. Some of them are maybe a little bit more of a laggard, as I would describe them. But absolutely, I think we commissioned a study at the end of last year where it was somewhere north of 60% of consumers are okay with buying a vehicle online. What that means is you've got this trend that people are actually moving and looking and doing the research online, and why not book now or buy now that vehicle. I think what's interesting is it's really around de-risking the customer. So as you were going in and purchasing a car, you were interested in finding the car that you wanted. You're okay with probably a little deviation from what you want, but you want to know what you're going to get. And if you're buying, especially a used car online, it's a little bit harder. So then what the companies have to do, and what they've been successful, some have been successful at doing, is giving you that warranty period. right? I see the car, I don't want it, send it back because it's blue and I wanted a red car, right? Maybe that's a little bit an egregious example, but I think absolutely, with our stitched together services, really, there's no one else that can service us. So the more that happens, I think the better off a Certis will be.
Yeah, that definitely, people are looking for what will make the big jump in the percentage of retail sales that are done online, if you include automobiles, it's people buying automobiles
Right.
online that will definitely bump up that number there. Trent, I wanted to ask, what have you learned over the past year? We know that online buying is here to stay, or at least at a much higher rate than it was prior to the pandemic. But what are some of the best lessons that you are going to take away from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, I think it's both internal and external. I think from a professional perspective, most of the learnings have been within myself and the organization and how we communicate effectively with each other. How do we work remote versus in person? I think within the automotive sector, I think it's been the ability to just be flexible and service your customers as needed. It's been an interesting trend with auto logistics where typically you take a 9-car vehicle and at an auction house or dealership and you pick up 9 cars, well, now you go to 9 different places and pick up 1 car. So it's been a completely different shift in behavior, which obviously flows up back to the end consumer in pricing and then back to the vehicle as your delivery services and things like that. So it's really about, applying what we do as data science layer on top of that to optimize the network, just as you would in the freight environment.
Right, Trent, that's great news. Thank you everything for your insights today. Can you give everybody listening just where to go if they want to learn more about Acertus?
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate you having us. We're excited to be part of FreightWaves, and hopefully we'll continue to see us with some joint efforts here going on in the future. If you're interested in finding more about what we do, acertusdelivers.com is your best place. Always reach me on LinkedIn and ask me any questions.
Well, like I said, Trent, and I think a few others here are still very new to the automotive logistics industry, so we will definitely have you back and learn more very shortly. Thank you.